Atheists, agnostics, skeptics, free thinkers, secular humanists, whatever you like to call yourself, you are welcome here. We call ourselves atheists at the Seattle Atheist Church because you will never hear anything supernatural talked about from the podium. So today's talk is on procrastination and what we can do to kind of gain some freedom around our control of our time. Socrates supposedly said, "I know only one thing, that I know nothing." And the advantage of taking the position that you know nothing is that it removes obstacles to learning something new. In the past, I was a project manager, and I thought I knew almost everything there was about getting things done. And in fact, I even know the methodology, getting things done, among other techniques. So I asked myself, is there anything new to say about time management, project management, that whole genre of topic? And I asked myself that question, what is the problem that is left to solve? And came up with the idea of procrastination. Because a lot of times we know what we should be doing, but it's hard to get ourselves to do it. And so that's the problem that I want to solve today. Some of these ideas about time management are counterintuitive because they're not so much about organizing your time, but about changing our perception of time, changing our perception of time. So we think of a minute as a measurement of time, right? 60 seconds, 360 moments, and that is kind of indisputable. But that's not how we experience time. When researchers asked people to tell them when 10 minutes were up, the subjects almost always got it wrong. And they got it wrong in a predictable way. So the people who were clock watchers, or in this case, time counters, counting the minutes in their head, had a subjective experience of time moving very slowly. But people who were engaged in doing something creative while they were waiting, for them the time went more quickly. And so, in fact, when we are deeply engrossed in creative activity, sometimes whole days can slip by like a movie on fast frame. When we are engaged in doing creative work, we can be said to be in a state of flow. And flow is actually an optimal experience for human beings. But the opposite experience, where time is moving so slowly that it's lagging worse than the internet on election night, is a very painful experience for human beings. And that's the problem that we're trying to solve. So there are all kinds of different things that cause us procrastination, and I'm going to talk to you tips on about 5 of them, okay? How to get yourself moving in about 5 different circumstances. So let's say there's something that you want to do, and it's a really tiny little thing, but there's no deadline, and you just haven't been able to make any progress on it. So ask yourself if it is a thing that really would make a difference in the long run if everyone did it. Okay, so one way to mess with our perception of time is to think back to the idea of a slice of life that we heard about from Greta Christina. So if you imagine for a second that time is a linear, time is a timeline, and that any 2 points on the timeline might represent a life, the slice of life being the beginning and the end of that life. Okay? So the first thing that was super awesome about this idea of a slice of life is that when she talked about a slice of life, she talked about what was humanity doing during that time. So imagine a slice of life celebration, and it covers not only what an individual did during their lifetime, but also sort of what was humanity able to achieve during this time. So for someone like me, you might say, born in the late 1960s, hopefully passes on in the early 2060s. What happens during that slice of life? So beginning of life, we began with the Stonewall riots. Somewhere around college, anti-apartheid protests. Early adulthood, see the fall of apartheid. A little bit further on, middle age, see marriage equality in the United States. A little bit further on, towards the end of their life, see equality, marriage equality as a human right all around the world. Okay? So you have this perspective that progress is almost inevitable as long as we're doing the work today to make it possible. It might make it just sort of automatic to do the little steps that would be involved. So for example, if one of the goals is to alleviate poverty around the world, log on to the Life You Can Save and make a small donation today. Okay? So it's kind of energizing. I think if all kids particularly grew up with that perspective, that just like progress is inevitable, that it would be very energizing to take small steps along the way. Now let's say we have a small, something to do that kind of is going to take a long time to do and it's really boring and repetitive. And you think it's going to be super tedious, so you just have total resistance about doing it. Hanging up laundry, wrapping all the Christmas packages, stealing wallpaper off the walls. If you've had any of those experiences, you know that can be really tedious. And so they can take subjectively longer than the clock time required to do them. How do you stop procrastinating on those things? So a lot of people think, I just can't get focused to make myself do it. You don't need to get focused. In fact, the opposite is true. What you need to do is to distract yourself as much as possible because it's your mind that is resisting the boredom and the tedium of doing this work. So blast music, put on a funny comedy, set a timer and work in short bursts, and try to move quickly, okay? Anything to kind of raise your energy level and distract yourself while you're doing this kind of work. Make it fun, make it social, have a friend over to paint the walls and pull the weeds. And now what if you need to procrastinate on some important work? What if you are procrastinating on doing some important work? So here's a tip. Make a list of what you need to do and rank your list twice. The first time, rank your list the way most of us do, which is by the deadline, okay? I need to get this done before church this morning. I need to get that done before I go to bed. But the other time that you rank your list, rank it by your resistance. Is there anything on your list that you would rather pull out your hair and run naked through the streets than do? That's the thing you need to do first. And as with agile methodologies where you're taught to do the most important thing every day, and the idea being, and obviously to do more than one thing, but that the consistent accomplishment of even one important thing a day over time really adds up to quite a lot. If you do the hardest thing to do in the subjective sense first, you'll have a lot more energy for the rest of the day, and over time, this will really add up for you. So if you have to do some work that's a little more complicated, and it has different steps that need to be taken at different times, you probably at this point are involving yourself with some sort of planning out of the work. Here's a tip. In this day and age, most of us have digital planners, right? Digital calendars, we do something off our phone. But sometimes when you're feeling stuck, it's helpful to get the thing printed out and actually put it up. Interact with it as a tangible thing. So have it on your counter, tape it to your door, tape it to your mirror, but get it up where it's kind of in your face and where, as you finish items, you can physically cross them off. And for some people, the act of physically crossing items off, does anybody have that experience? I know some people who are just like maniacs where they love to cross that stuff off the list. Okay, so now let's imagine, and another thing is, if things don't have to be done in a particular, this was a tip from a friend of mine, what she likes to do is she likes to write the things that need to be done on pieces of paper and put them in a hat, and pull items from a hat, so she doesn't even have to decide what to do next. It's just whatever comes out of the hat. If you have something to do is going to take multiple steps. What you can do is break it down into smaller steps. You're going to clean the house, you're going to clean the kitchen, you're going to do the dishes, but the smallest step is this one. Go stand by the dishwasher with a dish towel. And I'm not kidding you, like these are emergency protocol stuck things. How can you get past that being stuck? So another example I thought of that was similar to that is, let's say you need to file a bunch of paper. Just get one file and go stand in front of the filing cabinet, open it up, and peer in an exaggerated and comical way. So also try to bring some playfulness to things. That really is a helpful way to help you move through resistance. So now let's talk about, what if there's some changes you want to make in your life and you are having a hard time getting started on doing some other thing that you know that you need to do. So I read a book by a behaviorist named BJ Fogg, and I sent out the link in the invitation to his TED Talk, which is called Tiny Habits. So I think that all of the BJ Fogg work on behavior modification is really good stuff, and I'm going to give you just kind of a taste of it here. So he has 3 steps, okay? 3 steps. So the first of which is to break the new behavior that you want to incorporate as a habit into small steps. Then tie the steps to something that you already do. And finally, celebrate each tiny step. He says the most important part of his program is the celebrating your tiny accomplishments. So first of all, people often fail because they make their goal and their rewards too big. So let's say you have a goal of running a marathon and you're fantasizing about how you're going to celebrate at the finish line. That is way too big. And in fact, his idea of what's small enough is surprisingly small, okay? So let's say you have a goal of eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. You think about it, you say, I'm going to have a fruit at breakfast, 2 servings of veggies at lunch, 2 servings of veggies at dinner. That goal is still too big. So what you want to do is, you have to think about the fact that if you want to eat 5 servings of vegetables a day, you need to buy the veggies, you need to have some place to store them, you need to bring them home, wash them, cut them, store them, and then you need to, for example, make sure you're taking it to lunch with you if your lunch is at your workplace. So you have a lot of steps to eat 5 vegetables a day, okay? And so this is how it would work, okay? I go to the grocery store, I pick up some mason jars, I pick up some cherry tomatoes. Time for a tiny celebration. So the best celebrations are the ones that are kind of big. You know, the more you can amplify the emotion of celebration, the better. But if the best that you can do is just to kind of imagine in your mind a stadium full of people all waving signs that say, yay, healthy, you know, then do that, okay? Then you need to bring those cut up veggies with you to work so that you can eat them at lunch. So tie the behavior to something you're already doing. In the morning, you eat breakfast, you take out the milk. Put your mason jars of veggies next to the milk, take out the milk, take out the veggies. And put it near your keys so that you take it to work, okay? Now at least we've got you at lunch with the veggies in front of you. You've increased your chances of doing the habit. At lunch, pick up the jar, you know, unscrew it, maybe just eat one little baby carrot, and then celebrate, okay? And as I thought about this, what I think is that it is probably true that the celebration part is the part that is most hard for people. We don't give ourselves credit, even when we do big things. It can be hard. I find people don't want to celebrate, you know, and I'm like, yeah, you got your contractor's license, let's have dinner. And sometimes people, you know, don't want to celebrate. So even the idea of a tiny celebration is really hard. But that's the most important point, okay? So you can sing, you can clap, you can snap your fingers, you can give a fist pump, and also engage in positive self-talk. If you can involve other people and actually do a fist bump or a high five, then that is so much the better, right? That you're like giving, hey, good job, yeah, back and forth. We often talk here at church about Bill and Ted's excellent, I don't know if it's from Excellent Adventure, the excellent worldview of being awesome to each other. And I want to tell you that being awesome to each other means celebrating your friends' tiny successes. And so do it, because we all deserve to celebrate our tiny successes, and also it helps to positively anchor the event. So that's how you get yourself going with a new habit, okay? Another thing is that if we always do the same steps in the same way, it can help us make things automatic and make it easier for us to do some things. And also just free up willpower, like the less we have to think about, the more energy we have for other stuff, okay? So we need the routines in life, okay? And some routines for me, for example, is I in the morning think about what laundry I might throw in as I go downstairs and unload the dishwasher. If I unload the dishwasher every single morning, it makes my life so much easier later on in the day when my willpower might be waning. When you go to the grocery store, walk through in the exact same path, buy the same ingredients, and make the same meals week after week. And so that's another thing that you just don't have to think about. B.J. Fogg says that the easiest way to have new behaviors is to tie them to established behaviors. So that assumes that you already have some established behaviors, which of course we do. But the more established behaviors we have, the more places where we can insert some other new behaviors. And so I have one more example. This is somebody who wants to study for some kind of a license, okay, project management license or contractor's license. But the person feels they don't have any time for studying, and they rarely are able to, make any progress. Let's say every day at lunch, the person has a sandwich. So put your book near your bread box, with a nice, colorful, friendly sign. When you're eating your sandwich, read one chapter. And then if you know that you watch television every night after dinner, before your TV, when you go to pick up the changer, your channel changer, have your index cards that you're going to be studying with, and have a nice friendly sign saying study for half an hour. You might even have a little timer there to study that you can work while you do it. And if you do these things, and let's say you just really don't feel like studying, you're so exhausted, you want to give yourself the excuse that you're not going to do it. Just open the book, maybe read one page, and then dance around and celebrate the fact that you are not stuck, right? So this is a way to kind of feel like you're having some forward momentum, which often then will carry you into forward momentum. Now, finally, I want to talk about another case where people think of it as I procrastinate. This is my last example. But honestly, this is not procrastination. And that's when people have difficulty moving between two different things, okay? Like, do you procrastinate turning off the television at night? Or procrastinate getting off of a video game and, going to work or whatever the case may be. Okay, so particularly on this thing, a lot of times people blame, well, it's the media or something that is affecting our brain, and that's why we can't quit. And I want to suggest something else to you. I want to suggest that what the problem is that you're having a problem with transitions. So adults usually help children make transitions. We warn them. We're going to have to turn off the TV in 10 minutes. We're going to get ready to go in 5 minutes. But we don't give ourselves the same consideration. And if you find yourself having a hard time ending one thing and starting another, what you really have is a problem making transitions. So I'll give you some examples. Woman decides that she is going to go out after work. Okay, she needs to have more social life. She's challenging herself to go out with her friends after work. She comes home, she's really tired, and she just finds that she keeps not making it, not actually going out. One of the things that can help in this situation is lay your clothes out. What you're going to change into something. You don't have to look for the clothes at 6 o'clock at night when you're already exhausted. It's already laid out. So you're helping yourself make the transition. Maybe even play a playlist that you know as you're going out music. And so thinking about how can I make the best transitions possible. So, in closing, so the first thing I like to say is to remember to give yourself credit that progress is progress, no matter how slow. And if we can not get stuck in shame, because I think a lot of times when people are procrastinating, then they get into self-criticism and they feel like they should be doing it differently, instead of just like reaching out, making the phone call, blasting the music, and kind of, barreling through your next step with some humor and some energy. So together we can end the suffering that is procrastination, and it really is suffering for some people. And also, I would like to close the way I always do with the meme: atheists believe in good, because good works in non-mysterious ways. Thank you.